It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
I gotta admit, daylight savings time kind of like screwed me up a little bit. I almost fell asleep literally about 15 minutes ago. Good evening, everybody. That's what happens when you're getting older. It is November 6th, 2022. Welcome to this edition of The Sit Down. I am your host, as always, Don Tony. Hope everybody's having a great weekend, and I am here, as always. Before anything, a couple of thank yous. First off, thank you to everyone who sent me feedback regarding the audio for yesterday's WWE Crown Jewel post-show review. I got up extra early yesterday because Crown Jewel started at 12 noon. Pre-show was 11 a.m. And I was messing around with my audio settings, and I thought I actually improved them, and apparently I did. If you listen through your phone, you probably didn't hear much of a difference, but those on a computer or any type of speakers that have any type of bass to them, the one thing that a lot of you said to me was that the audio doesn't cut out anymore. I noticed that later on in the shows, when I start getting a little softer in my voice, like the voice would cut out because the noise filter would kick in. So I disabled all of that shit, and we got some improvements. I also got to thank each and every one of you. You know, everyone that's been with me for a long time, and for all of you out there that are new to the channel, I can't thank you enough for how awesome Thursday night was with JD. I know that sounds a little surprising for a lot of people that really don't know JD as much as they think they know him. We had 3 hours and 10 minutes, no pun intended, of pure bliss. Probably not the right word to use, but we had a banger. And the feedback has been tremendous. I have gone out of my way, with the exception of, a couple of text trolls that posted comments trying to make it about other people. But I've tried to respond to each and every one of you. The emails, the DMs, it's been phenomenal. Also, I want to thank everybody just for, just spreading the word. Spreading the word. It's been amazing. And I tell you, after doing this, it's not a bragging thing, but after doing this, going on my 26th year, at times you do say to yourself, like, is it worth it? Is it enjoyable still? I can honestly say that you guys make this so much fun. You make it so worth it. And the one thing I think more than anything is once we got truly rid of the drama and rid of the politics, and I'm not talking about politics in pro wrestling, I'm talking about just politics in the world and getting rid of the drama, it's been a blast, man. I can't tell you how thrilled I am to see where this channel is going. Should have come here 10 years ago. Look, I don't anybody that's been audio only with me forever, I'm not trying to minimize your importance. It's just that being able to once in a while see my face, see my eyes, get a little animated, be able to show you things, video. Tomorrow we're going to show a couple of clips that have to do with Sasha Banks, that have to do with Logan Paul. I'm sure you heard the news. Things like that. I think, adding a visual aspect to it is very important. But anyway, that's not why you are here tonight, especially for those who are live. If you're new to the Sunday night show, the sit down is basically a conversation. In the mafia, the Italian world, I'm pretty sure they originated what's called the sit down. You would have the Godfather representing all different families. The most infamous group is the Five Families, and the Godfather for each family, they would have a sit down. They would have a discussion, try to iron out whatever their issues are, and also just have casual convo. We saw it recently with Tony D'Angelo and Santos Escobar. Hey, let's do a sit down. So that's what this is. So tonight I literally show up. I just dropped something I wanted to show you. I show up with a blank piece of paper. I know there's writing on the other side. You pick the topics. You ask the questions. As always, super chats are not required. They are appreciated, no question. And they will get some VIP priority status tonight. But if you're in the chat room and you have a question you want me to answer, just put in capital letters the word question. If you have a comment that you want me to share with everyone, in capital letters, write the word comment. And I got to pick something up. If any of you out there are into sugar-free drinks that are maybe not best for you, but, you people say you walk around the world, you're outside your house, and the air quality is like shit. They have chemicals and preservatives in foods. I seriously doubt that I'm going to die an earlier age if I can't appreciate a little bit of sugar-free 7-Up. No, I am not getting paid for this. This is not any advertiser. Diet 7-Up has become my favorite drink next to Zevia. Zevia. And I'm telling you guys, you got to try this shit. I've put it in sparkling water. Incredible. For the first time tonight, I'm actually going to put it in regular water because they tell you to put one of these in 16 ounces of water. I have 32 ounces of water, which means, yeah, we're doing Sesame Street. I got 2. So I'm going to have a little bit of Diet 7-Up tonight, talk to all of you, and we'll go about 60 to 90 minutes. I don't think we need to overload everyone, especially after doing, almost 2 hours on Wednesday, 3 hours on Thursday, 2 hours yesterday. So, first question, Brady Robinette. Who do I think is taking the titles away from Roman Reigns? I'm going to stick with the conversation that I had with JD on Thursday. Cody Rhodes, I'm in agreement with JD, and we've been talking about it too. Cody Rhodes is obviously the one that everybody expects to dethrone Roman Reigns. The question is, when does Roman Reigns lose these championships? I think WWE has proven that, we may think we know when they're going to drop the titles, and they don't. I mean, did anybody really think that the Usos, think about this, think about timing. As of Friday, they're going to beat the New Day, obviously. But as of Friday, they become the longest reigning tag team champions in WWE of all time. I don't think any of us would have ever expected that maybe 6 months ago. It's strange because someone asked me this privately, and I was not going to talk about it publicly on the show, but I guess it's a good point to bring up. If Big E would have never gotten injured, would the Usos have gone on this record run? It's not such a cut and dry answer, but it makes you think a little bit about it. But, the Usos are going to make history. So, JD is saying, have Roman Reigns hold that title for 1,000 days. 1,000 days is what? 5.5 months? That's past WrestleMania. So imagine if Roman Reigns retains the championships at Mania. I thought if he's going to defend the titles at Mania, have him defend both nights. I know that sounds ridiculous, but maybe they could do something with Triple H or Adam Pearce, probably Triple H, where Roman, you have 2 titles, you have to defend both championships, 2 matches. Let him defend it on night 1 of Mania, night 2 of Mania. So you do it that way, it's possible that he only loses 1 championship. I think Seth Rollins is a possibility. I think Cody Rhodes is a possibility. I do not think Sami Zayn is a possibility. I really don't. I think Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, ultimately dethroning the Usos is going to be one of those moments where you're going to see screenshots of people in the crowd crying. I think you'll see Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn crying. And remember, when the Usos are going to be on this record run, you always think about who is the one to dethrone them. I mean, I know it's a very bad example, but it's a good way to put it. Look at Goldberg's undefeated streak. Look how that shit ended. Now, obviously the circumstances is part of it, but we always remember that Kevin Nash is one to dethrone Goldberg's winning streak. You know, whenever something comes to an end, you always look at Undertaker's WrestleMania streak. The one you remember more than anything is Brock Lesnar. You know, the guy with the eyes, the Caddyshack eyes. So those are some of the choices right there. But it would be fascinating if he retained at WrestleMania. It's not out of the question. Something to think about. All right. You know, by the way, congratulations to the Houston Astros. I did not get a chance today to go back to the show we did, I think, 2 weeks ago. But 2 weeks ago, I gave predictions for the World Series. I know I said the Astros. I don't remember if I said in 5 or in 6. But I did say that I think the Phillies' number one problem was they were a Cinderella team. I think they might have had, 87 wins? And they were on such a momentum. And the thing is when you're on momentum like that, the worst thing that can happen to you is, time, just downtime. And they were forced to wait several days before competing in the World Series, and I think that took them off their game a little bit. I think if the World Series would have happened within maybe 2 days after they clinched, made it to the World Series, I think we may have seen a little different outcome. But they did a phenomenal job, the Phillies. Nothing to be ashamed about. Shout out to everybody who's a Phillies fan. Big-time Phillies fans out there. And you know what? Congrats to all the Astros fans out there, because I know there's quite a few of you as well. So, much love. I can't wait to see what the Rampage rating is for Monday. Not to rub it in, but I want to see, since there was no World Series game Friday, and with Shabbat and everything, I want to see if AEW fans came out of the woodwork to show, hey, we're not going to embarrass Shibata. We're all going to watch and get our ratings count. Which, if you think of that idea, it is kind of stupid. I don't think any fans should ever come out of the woodwork because they don't want to embarrass a number of a particular week. And I'll tell you why. Because do you all know anyone that has a Nielsen box? I don't know many. I mean, through the hotline and a podcast, I've met a few people that have told me they have them, but I don't know many people. So even if you tune in, does it register? Probably not. All right, one fall. If I'm working with NXT and will be the manager of a faction, something like the Heenan family, who would be the members of my group? Right now, I would love to do something with the Italians. I think that would be so much fun. I don't know if I could add anything to what's going on. I mean, I would have changed some of the lingo. You don't have to use derogatory words, to use Italian lingo. But some of the things out of Tony D'Angelo's mouth, you could tell that whoever told him to say some of those things are not Italian. So I think adding a little bit of that Italian authenticity, I tell you the truth. That guy that was the guest with them for a little while, I can't remember his name right now, but, he was, he's Italian. And I actually thought he did a pretty damn good job, but I would like to do something with the Italians. I always love the Italian gimmicks in wrestling. You don't see them as much anymore because of the stereotypes. And look, the Mafia isn't what it was. I mean, when John Gotti died, God, you see how many years it's been already? When John Gotti died in the latter part of the 90s, a lot of the aura about the mob died with him. There's still mob. I mean, there is a very cool YouTube channel called Mooney Dashcam, and I like the guy. He's from my neck of the woods, and I hope to see him one day in my neighborhood in the near future. But, he documents a lot of incidents that happened with like the mob. And believe me, there's shit that goes down even today. Somebody just got busted here in New York. Somebody that worked for a mayor, and he's tied to Italian organized crime. I don't know if it's the Genovese. No, I don't think it's Genovese. It might have been a Bonanno crime family. I'm not sure, but he just last week got himself in a shitload of trouble. His name is Eric. I don't know if it's Eric Ulrich, but if you want to look that up. So the mob is still around, but it's nowhere near what it used to be. That's why the gimmick in NXT is now starting to feel outdated, because they tried, I think, to focus like a Sopranos type deal. And the Italian mob of 2022 is not what, it was when the Sopranos was around. So I see a couple of supers came in, 2 super chats. So let's give a couple of shout-outs here. Just Joe, just to thank you for such a great show with JD, and a question. Choose someone you'd like to see Roman Reigns feud with next that most people would not pick. That's a pretty damn good question. By the way, thank you for the 10 spot. Much love. Pick someone that Roman Reigns could feud. Now, obviously, we could say someone on the roster that doesn't deserve a feud or a title shot with Roman Reigns. I think what he's saying is somebody legit that people would not immediately think of. Look, you got your usuals that we say, the AJ Styles, the Seth Rollins, but you know who I would like to see, and it would be really a challenge? See, the problem with Roman Reigns having a reign like this, no pun intended, is you almost feel like anybody that faces him right now have no shot of winning. Think about it. You think, okay, road to WrestleMania at minimum is clear for Roman Reigns. So anybody that he faces now, you feel like they have no shot. So how do you give enough suspension of disbelief that, that there's a possibility? Who I would choose, really, the more I think about it? So somebody said Sami Zayn, he's still part of the Bloodline, so that would be impossible. LA Knight is a good choice, not bad at all. Robert Roode would be fun, but I don't see, I go with Sheamus. Oh, by the way, that's good. Wow. I honestly did not think Diet 7-Up would be good with just regular tap water, but the box it doesn't say put it in sparkling water. Listen, I did put it once in sparkling water. The problem why they don't recommend it is because when you put any flavored powder in sparkling water, you can't start going, open the thing and see what happens. You'll get a nice load in your face of carbonated water. So you almost got to do it slow. You got to go like this. And the powder, if you do it like this, the powder's going to look at you and is going to laugh and say, you think I'm going to dissolve like this? So you got to wait like a half an hour for the powder to dissolve. That's why you always got to use liquid. You got to use liquid. I have to find out if there's a liquid Diet 7-Up syrup. Sorry. So I would go with Sheamus. I think Sheamus turning babyface, and he has been on a roll. And, man, that feud with Gunther was spectacular. I don't want it to end just yet. So I would go with Sheamus. Larry the Comic. I would become Leonardo Giovanni in NXT. That's the most Italian name he could think of in 5 seconds. Leonardo Giovanni, believe it or not, that in my neck of the woods, that would sound like the first name and the middle name or the confirmation name of someone like Leonardo Giovanni, blah. Like something. There's got to be another, name at the end. That's a good first and middle name. I would not want to do anything with Bron Breakker. Bron Breakker don't need no manager. Bron Breakker is doing just fine. It's funny. I see people, there was this deep debate the last 24 hours. Who is the rookie of the year? And people are choosing 3 names. Hook, Bron Breakker, Logan Paul. Especially after Logan Paul's performance yesterday. By the way, we'll talk about it in a little more detail tomorrow, but Logan Paul tore up his knee. So, his shot at WrestleMania may be in jeopardy. I think it's an MCL and meniscus, and possibly an ACL. So he's going to get further tests now being back in the States. But first of all, Logan Paul's only had 3 matches. I don't give a shit that, listen, of the 3, Logan Paul impresses me the most so far, but you don't take someone that's only had 3 matches because you could train hardcore for the one particular match that you have upcoming and, know that you have nothing else for a couple of months. So you do not give someone rookie of the year just on 3 matches. Hook, a lot of his opponents have been, so like one-sided. Bron Breakker, it's not even close. Bron Breakker should be the rookie of the year. It's not even fucking close. When I look at all 3 and I say, okay, right now, which one would be money that could be on TV every single week, getting people to go to the arenas and see them wrestle? Of the 3, Bron Breakker. It's not even close, in my opinion. But Logan Paul, if Logan Paul could wrestle once a month, then I could put him in on a list. But no, I don't take 3 matches in a year or 9 months and say, okay, rookie of the year. That's ridiculous. You have someone, I don't want to compare it to other sports, but you do not base a whole entire year on 3 appearances. So, and you know what? What happens if somebody, a celebrity, trains for a match, has an unbelievable job, but maybe is not like the biggest wrestling fan, or maybe they're not as in shape as Logan Paul, or maybe they don't have the look of a pro wrestler? Would they turn around and give that person rookie of the year, even if they did the exact same thing Logan Paul did? Probably not. Probably not. All right. Got one more super chat to shout out. Lissellis Williams, thank you for the 20 spot, my friend. Much appreciated. Loved your episode with JD. Would I consider doing another episode with him? Yeah. And I am going to send him a DM in the next couple of days to see if he wants to do one again. Not right this minute, but that's the one thing over and over again. And not just people that support this channel, but people that support his channel that never even knew I existed. I can't tell you how many people want to see, a second appearance. So, yeah, I definitely am going to invite JD back. Just understand that he has a very full-time schedule, and it's not just doing shows. He commentates for House of Glory. He does other things, and he doesn't live in New York. Think about that for a minute. So he does a lot with work. But, yeah, I definitely am going to ask him to come back, and I honestly think he will. No bullshit. One thing I think you all should know about me by now is I don't lie to you, not even in the least. Maybe, it could be interpreted when I say we're only going to go an hour and then we go 2 hours, and I do that all the time. Oh, he lied to us. When I say I want to do an hour, I really want to do just an hour. Just time flies when you're having fun. That's the God honest truth. But yeah, I am asking JD to come back on. What I think I would like to do is when we get a whole bunch of new topics, when we get some new scandals, when we get some new changes in the world of pro wrestling, when we get some, title changes and other, wrestlers getting some of a push that they're not getting now, I think that would be the perfect time to bring JD back. So yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go with questions. Guardian of Chaos, what's up, brother? Throwback question, NWA Starrcade or Great American Bash? That's kind of a tough one for me. I would say Starrcade. Starrcade always felt more important. And I look, there's some awesome matches in the history of Great American Bash. The thing is that when Starrcade came around in the early 80s, it felt like it was a big fucking deal. Great American Bash, when you say those words to me, the first thing that comes to my mind is barbecue, summertime, hanging out, shorts, maybe sitting by the pool, watching a little wrestling, a little barbecue, it's not, to me, it's more laid back. Didn't we get Rosie or was it Rosie and Clinton? Didn't they brawl at Great American Bash? Did Obama, did we get the fake Obama with the big ears? Remember that? I think that was Great American Bash. I think he's talking about WCW, Great American Bash. Or NXT was pretty good. Me, it's Starrcade. But I will say this. Starrcade, because it started in a much earlier time, Starrcade at times would be a little bit boring for today's standards. But for me, Starrcade over Great American Bash. Gabriella, thank you for the kind words. Yeah, it was a hell of a show. And, we both went into it. We knew what topics we were going to discuss. And I think everybody tuning in knew that as well because we put it up there. So we knew what, we thought about what our answers were going to be. But it was easy, man. And this is the truth. When you don't have any, drama and someone who is willing to stand by their views and not take it personal, not get angry over it, and this and that, especially someone who really takes the time, having conversations like that is easy. I want to say it's one of the most easiest shows I've ever did. It's possible. I mean, I thought about it all the time because the last thing I wanted to do was give everyone a crappy show, especially the way it was hyped up. I also didn't want to get eaten alive by JD, but plus it helps when you're friends with someone, because there's a trust factor there. And that's what I've been writing over and over again to a lot of your comments. The one thing that I thought was the coolest about Thursday was that JD was comfortable enough to let his guard down. He trusted me that I wasn't going to shove something up his ass when he wasn't looking. And that was a cool thing to see. So I appreciate that. Michael Gonzalez, favorite traditional Survivor Series elimination tag team match? I don't have one, especially with tag teams, because back in the day when Survivor Series first came out, you had your traditional 5-on-5. You really didn't have it with tag teams. And I don't really, and I'll be honest with you, I know this might upset some people out there, but overall, as far as Survivor Series, the last 20 years, it's not one of my more favorite premium live events / pay-per-views. Because the problem you have when you have especially traditional 5-on-5 matches, you get the bullshit, finishes. Understand, you have 10 people in the match. If you want to end the match with 2 or 3 people left, total, combined between two teams, that means you have to have 7 decisions take place. And they're not going to let these matches go 30 minutes. So what happens? You have the opening pin would probably go 5, 6, 7 minutes, and then somebody would get pinned. And then right after they pin someone runs into the ring and gives them a fruit roll-up, and they get pinned in about 3 seconds. And then you might have 2 people that will fight outside the ring, and for some reason they refuse to go back inside the ring, so they both get counted out. That's happened so many times over the years. Survivor Series this year it's different because of War Games. This year I am so pumped. I can't wait. It's 3 weeks from now. Can't wait for Survivor Series this year. And we already know that one team is the Bloodline. I mean, we all knew it's going to be the Bloodline, but now it's official. It's going to be Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, the Usos, and Sami Zayn. It's going to be 5-on-5. I don't know why 5-on-5 was a news story this weekend. I mean, we've been talking about 5-on-5 for about a month now. It was known that it was 5-on-5. I don't know why. I mean, Jim Cornette said something this weekend, and I know Jim Cornette said it a couple weeks ago, but I know Conan said it this weekend too. And I was like, that's more spot on than I think he even realizes. You know what I notice goes on in the news world? You will report something, and because you're not part of that inner circle, that clique, they will ignore your news, and they may not get that same news for 2 or 3 weeks. And then once they get it 2 or 3 weeks later, they report it, and then everybody cuts and pastes it as if it's a new news story. But yet someone else reported it 3 weeks ago, and they intentionally ignore the story because you're not in the inner circle with them. And that happens more than you realize. And the latest example, the 5-on-5 thing. That's not news. That's been known for a while. I don't know why anybody thought otherwise. So, it's for me, this year, I can't wait for War Games. That siren, hearing Iron Maiden on top of it. No, not Iron Maiden. Oh my God, brain fart. I know it's Ozzy Osbourne, but Black Sabbath. Remember my toilet paper thing? Remember the toilet paper thing? We did the spoof early on with COVID. I gotta look that up. I definitely still have that video somewhere. Something with black masses, having like shit up their asses. Didn't. If I could pull that shit up right now, that would be epic. I don't think I'll be able to pull it up right now because I haven't looked for that video in ages. So, yeah, that's not happening today. Maybe next week will do it because it'll be like the last weekend or maybe 2 weeks ago before 2 weeks from now for Survivor Series. So that is an awesome song, man. I love that WWE's got that song to use. All right, Rocky Red, shout out to you. If CM Punk would have returned, people would crap on him and call him a hypocrite for breaking his conviction versus WWE. But aren't we all hypocrites? Well, you know, people, there's always someone that's always going to say something. CM Punk was epic, amazing, unbelievable, people crying, you know, all this emotional stuff, ice cream bars and everything. Like, everybody absolutely loved CM Punk early on. I still remember what I said over a year ago. Guys, gals, if people forget that it's CM Punk is CM Punk. You know, they ignored the baggage that comes with it because they thought that that was going to finally beat a person to have AEW beat WWE in the ratings. CM Punk, people tattooed their shit CM Punk could do no wrong. Now CM Punk is public enemy number one. It's just, why do I smell glue? I smell glue. I smell like, it's glue right here, but there's no glue open. I smell like some deep glue. I don't know what. I don't know. Maybe she's cooking glue inside. I smell like really hardcore glue. I got this glue also for the wall. If I'd drop dead 5 minutes later, obviously I won't be able to tell you all, but because I'll be dead. But you could say, hey, maybe there's something connection with smelling glue and dropping. But no. There's always going to be somebody complaining. When Cody went back to WWE, there was people, losing their shit. So CM Punk going back, even if CM Punk lived out his contract, and then you heard reports that CM Punk, he's an older person now, he's married, things are different, Dr. Amann is out of there, and Vince is no longer there. So, Triple H and him had a serious even if everything felt look, he grew up a little bit, people would still shit on CM Punk. So personally, there's always going to be someone. I just choose to ignore those people. And but if you tune in on Thursday, JD sold me on the fact that WWE should not bring him back. And I agree with him. I don't think, even though I loved what CM Punk did at the Scrum, I don't think CM Punk could be trusted. I don't think any promotion could truly trust him because he is so moody and he is so in his ways that if he gets really upset, he's going to, take matters into his own hands. And I don't think he could be trusted. Will Rally Sport rally? Will Rally Sport rally? What do I think of Braun Strowman's stupid comments again? He was like watching Ricochet himself. I have to get the screenshots for tomorrow. I'll give everybody a quick synopsis. Braun Strowman and Omos had a good match yesterday at Crown Jewel. Definitely exceeded all expectations. That was something that I said yesterday afternoon. A lot of other people said the very same thing. I think what happened today is that Braun Strowman went on social media. I think Braun Strowman saw all of the, the compliments, and then probably saw, that crowd that's more about the acrobatic style of wrestling, and they probably crapped all over him and Omos. And I think he got triggered. And he started making some wise-ass remarks about flippy and this and that. I personally, I am a big fan of Braun Strowman. I still love his return to WWE. Braun Strowman is going to troll people. Braun Strowman, not justifying it. What Braun Strowman did today was unnecessary. There was no need to do it. You had a great fucking match. Appreciate the people that complimented you. I guarantee he won over some people yesterday for having a decent match with Omos, and he probably lost some people today because of just trolling the trolls. look, it's tempting to troll the trolls, but unfortunately, though, he's insulting a style of wrestling that was unnecessary. I guarantee you, there's a lot of wrestlers within WWE that do that flippy style that didn't appreciate his words, especially when those wrestlers do not say anything about his type of game. So I don't think it was necessary for Braun to do that. He had a great match yesterday, but you got to also understand Braun will shove it in people's faces. That's how he is. It doesn't justify it, but he didn't need to say what he said today, in my opinion. And I have a feeling, look, Triple H is not the principal. He's not Braun's father, but I'm sure somebody in WWE is going to tell him, come on, man. That's, we're not AEW. And I'm sorry for saying it like that, but, we're not AEW. No need to go there. Just keep doing what you're doing. That's my opinion. So, all right. Let's see. Again, in the chat, put question before your question so it stands out. Benjamin, what are my thoughts on Adam Cole losing Britt Baker to Tony Schiavone? That's what we call a why is my phone ringing? My cell phone's going on in the background. So, yeah, it's more of a lighthearted joke, obviously. Yeah, that's not happening. Again, I don't condone what Britt Baker did to JD. I said what I said on Thursday. I gave you my reasons why, but I will also say for over a year now, maybe a year and a half, I've been singing the praise of how much she's improved. Adam Cole is a big reason behind that. Adam Cole has been training her and, just really, really mentoring her. And let me tell you something. You're in the wrestling business and you're a talent and you're dating someone else that is not only a wrestler also, but one of the best. Oh, my God. How awesome is that? So Adam Cole deserves a lot of credit for Britt Baker's success. Britt Baker, obviously, too, for working hard. So, Danny's asking, would I do a show with Joe Cronin? We did one earlier this year. I put a new playlist up. It's called Podcast Forbidden Door. There's only 3 episodes, obviously. First one was with Jason Salamonsta. Somebody told me tonight that it's Jason's 15th anniversary doing shows. I got to check that out. So if it is, I will formally congratulate him tomorrow. But, no, I did one earlier this year with Joe Cronin. It was a lot of fun. In fact, when I go like this, a link will pop up. And for everyone on the archive, you could click it and watch it. That was a great... Listen, all 3 Forbidden Doors have been spectacular. And what's cool about it is each one has a different vibe. It has a completely different vibe. Like, it's not... Each one is different, feels different, looks different. So they were good. All right. Kevin Milwaukee. Is it just him, or does Chris Statlander sound like the name of a relief pitcher? Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. I feel bad that she's gotten hit with the injury bug so much. She's one. I'm telling you, if she could stay, I don't know. I don't know how far she'll go in AEW. I personally think if she were to ever go to WWE, I actually think her ceiling would be a lot higher. If she could, avoid the injury bug in the future, Chris Statlander has something. Not this nose alien shit. I'm glad that was one good thing AEW and she did. Get rid of that stuff. It was not needed. I like her work. I really do. Look, early on, I was not a fan. You could see early on she was not ready for prime time. She's another one who worked her ass off, not just to get back into wrestling because of injury, but trained to make her work even better. Yeah, she's buried right now because she's injured. All right, Rams fan. Do I see Jeff Jarrett trying to book baseball stadiums for AEW live events? Not right now because it's wintertime. You got to understand something. AEW has a little more leverage now than what Impact Wrestling had 10 plus years ago. And a lot of those minor league stadium shows were actually very, very cheap and a lot easier to get. So that's why they booked those shows. Nowadays, it's a little bit different. But, Jeff Jarrett, I posed this question on Thursday, and I'm a little surprised at the response I've gotten so far. I said, is it possible that was CM Punk's role in AEW because he was part of management? I don't know. I mean, I could look into it. I don't know if anybody really cares, but, let's see what Jeff Jarrett does. Let's see what he can do. But understand this, and this is why, do I see a baseball stadium once in a while? Sure. Why not? If you get a good deal somewhere, sure. But remember this, Tony Khan's bank book is much different than Panda Energy or Dixie Carter. Even though they had money, it wasn't bottomless. And Tony Khan, there's a lot more money involved. So I don't think Tony Khan is going to be, being a penny pincher and doing some low budget minor league stadiums because he could get it dirt cheap. They're going to go to areas where they think they could draw the biggest numbers. It's all about numbers and the perception. So, Philip Promoter. Could Vince Russo be the next guest on Podcast Forbidden Door? I don't want to say that he'll be the next, but he's definitely on the list. It's a shame. He could have been the first one about, a year and a half ago? And what did I say? If we get 500 likes on social media, we'll do it. And I think we got like 450. And I felt bad, but I was like, nope. Look, I support Vince Russo. I'm still a member of his Patreon. I've been a member of the brand probably since day one. No joke. I don't talk about it publicly, but I still am. Vince Russo is bucket list for me. Vince Russo's bucket list. Mick Foley is sort of bucket list, but more because I want to thank him again for so much good that he's done and a lot that you have no idea. You've never seen publicly. Be interesting to talk politics with Mick Foley, but those two guys are bucket list. There's other ones as well. So, look, I don't want to say who will be next because I haven't thought about it fully yet. And plus, it's up to the person. There's a few people that, I'm not going to name names, but there's a few people that I would love to have on, and they will definitely say no. And I'm not talking about Tony Khan. There's some people, I would love to have Tony Khan on. And honestly, even though I bring up some very, very rough points on the shows and confront topics that no one else will, I wouldn't railroad him. I would not throw him in a corner and, like if he said to me, I have no comment, I'm not going to turn around and say, what do you have no comment for? I'm not asking anything that's legal. I'm just asking your opinion about something. What do you mean no comment? I wouldn't do that. But I think I don't think it would work. But there's other people that I really wanted to do a Forbidden Door with, and then I realized that, there's no effort on their part. They're like, yeah, we'll do it. And then you could see that they just don't give a shit. So I can't say who's going to be next. I appreciate all of the opinions, and believe me, a lot of the people that you all have said are on that list. So we'll see. And look, when the next one happens, it's going to be special. It's going to be special. I don't want the Forbidden Door theme to get watered down and just have someone on to have someone on. I mean, I'm sure there's some names out there that would be personal favorites of a lot of you out there, but across the masses, 95% of everyone would be like, who's that? Who that? So we'll see. Yeah, Conrad. I was a member of his Patreon for a long time, but it's too expensive, man. It's too expensive. Like, you sign up and it's like, oh, okay, if you want like a podcast, you got to pay like 3 times. But I love his hustle, man. I appreciate what Conrad does because it's a business and he maximizes it and he fucking will do everything that he doesn't let a penny go unnoticed. He will grab everything. And, that's why, like, I've told him privately. You know, early on when he first was doing those conventions, I said, man, I appreciate everything that you do, because, you know, if there's someone out there that wants to give you the money, you take it. You fucking take it. No one's getting ripped off. You know, look, if I throw this on eBay right now and no one else has it, and you pay me $100 for this, all right, I didn't ask for $100. You know, or even if I did ask for $100, I told you what this is. I told you what this is. Now, if you say to me, DT, you know, when it's available in most places, look at the podcast row. The podcast row. I think Conrad was taking, what, $2,000 from podcasts if they wanted to be part of that row. And we're talking small podcasts. And people paid it. And a lot of people were pissed off about it. But, you know, I used the indie wrestling example when the Masked Maniac was around. If you're a scrub, if you're 150 pounds wet, and almost nobody would be interested in seeing you on a show, and you want to be on a show with people like Scott Steiner and others, I'm talking 15 years ago, then you got to, you know, your worth, how do you bring your worth up? Well, you bring revenue in. So if you, with a tiny podcast that gets 50 people, if you want to be in a row with a whole bunch of established podcasters out there, then you got to pay your way. Why do you deserve to be on that row? Because I love wrestling. So I always envied all of his hustle. And you know what? If people don't want to pay him, nobody forces them to. So Sam thought yesterday's Crown Jewel was great. Gives it an 8 out of 10. Fair. I gave it, I think, 7.5 out of 10. I thought it was very good. Definitely above average. Maybe not as good as the last one that they did in Saudi Arabia, but it was a good one. My favorite Survivor Series moment for Michael Gonzalez, when Bret Hart got screwed. It was a surreal moment. I remember watching it on TV, and I recorded all of my pay-per-views. I still have my original VHS tapes. I rewound that shit over and over and over again, and I was like, what? I was just fucking wild. It was, I mean, we all knew that he was, you know, going to WCW. But, man, when that shit went down, and then, you know, he's spitting on Vince, and then, you know, Raw with the midget Bret Hart, that was surreal, man. That's my favorite moment, because when it went down in real time, I remember talking to my friend. I was doing my hotline at that time. That's how old I am. That's how long I've been doing this. I started doing my hotline right before Survivor Series. It was June or July of 1997. So remember going on my hotline the next day and talking about this. It was pretty wild, man. Marvin is asking me, who do I think is going to face Gunther next? I think his feud with Rey Mysterio is not over yet. But I will say this. Apparently, WWE is going to do this World Cup. Now, I'm going to get into it tomorrow because I want to have the information in front of me. But, you know, they're going to do an 8-man tournament. I know some people think they're copying AEW with their Eliminator tournament or, you know, championship tournament at Full Gear, but it's not. It's based on FIFA, you know, the soccer, you know, tournament. I think, is there 8 teams in the tournament as well? But what WWE is doing is each person is going to represent countries. So, you know, I'm wondering if we're going to get Giovanni Vinci. I'm sure we'll probably get Ludwig Kaiser. Wouldn't that be something if a member of Imperium wins that and faces Gunther? Wouldn't that be something if Ludwig Kaiser won it? We remember what Gunther did to him. I got to see the brackets first. But, you know, look, obviously whoever wins that probably will face Roman Reigns, not Gunther. But still, wouldn't that be something, man, if something came out of there? So I don't know. I got to look at that. But Gunther right now, I think there's still room for Rey Mysterio. You could put anybody you want in there. But we'll see. We'll see. I'll definitely get into the brackets tomorrow. All right, Tristan Sloan. Personally, he thinks Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins at Mania is the best WWE match in 2022. I love their Hell in a Cell. Their WrestleMania match was very, very special. There was a lot of emotion involved. There was a lot of anticipation involved. And I think that's why it's a little bit inflated. When you have emotion building up in anticipation and then it delivers, it feels that much more special. But I take their Hell in a Cell match anytime over their WrestleMania match. But their WrestleMania match definitely deserves to be in the top 10 for the year. Absolutely. Yeah, Ryan, we talked about it on Thursday. Jeff Jarrett is a member of AEW now. He wrestled a match not too long ago on a PLE show for WWE early this year. You know, Jeff Jarrett is no longer employed by WWE, and Jeff Jarrett still wants to be in pro wrestling, and AEW is giving him an opportunity, and Jeff Jarrett could still work outside of AEW. I don't know how much he'll do outside of AEW because what he has to do with AEW is going to eat up a lot of time. But, you know, working for AEW does give you the freedom that you can do a little bit outside. So, Rams fan, I actually brought up that match on Thursday. Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal versus Sting and Darby Allin. We first for a brief moment wondered Muta. You know, the problem with Sting and Muta being on the same team is both of them are old. Just say it bluntly. So, yeah, no, that's a match. No, you don't have to apologize. But I'm just saying, like minds, you know, good minds think alike, like minds. I like the idea because Darby and Jay Lethal have some history now. Sting and Jeff Jarrett have a lot of history. And if the older guys are getting a little bit blown up, then you could go a different route. But I personally think Muta with this retirement tour, especially that WWE sending Shinsuke to Japan, it almost feels like AEW, and I'm not trying to be a dick, but you could almost picture Tony Khan saying, we cannot have Great Muta retire without us celebrating him. WWE wants to send Shinsuke to Japan, no problem. We're going to give this whole spectacular tribute to Muta in AEW. So I have a feeling we may see Muta. Who knows? Maybe it's Muta and Darby Allin with Sting in their corner. It's possible. So maybe this somehow leads to Andrade returning. So I don't want to say why all the pieces would have to fall in place. It's a little complicated. So, all right, Larry the Comic. Do I see the Paul brothers winning the tag titles from the Usos? Absolutely not. First of all, Logan Paul's injury is going to keep him out for a long time. You know, Jake Paul, that was sausage that was reported today, everyone. Our sources tell us that WWE would love to do something with Jake Paul in the future. No fucking shit. They only said that because Jake Paul showed up yesterday. Jake Paul is not a pro wrestler. Jake Paul does not give anywhere near the same vibes as Logan Paul does. Could Jake Paul do something in the future? Sure, why not? If he really wants to and WWE's willing to pay, you know, and who knows, Jake Paul may end up doing a good job. But no, you're not going to break the Usos record run with two non-wrestlers, at least one non-wrestler on one side of it. Because what happens if Jake Paul and Logan Paul win the tag titles? Then what? They're not going to be defending it on a regular basis. You'd have to set up it wouldn't happen. We don't have to worry about that. That would not happen. All right. Let's spread it around a little bit. This way we can answer questions for everybody. Chris Segovia. DT, who do I think Bianca Belair faces next? I'm not sure. I'm wondering if Charlotte Flair. The problem is a lot of people think Charlotte Flair versus Bianca, as Wade Barrett says, Bianca. Bianca. I think that match might be better suited for WrestleMania. Bianca Belair versus Charlotte, WrestleMania. I kind of like the way that sounds. So let's wait and see. It's because Charlotte Flair obviously could turn things upside down like that. So if you asked my gut feeling, if it's not Charlotte Flair, I think WWE will do some type of a tournament on Raw. I think they may do something. And let's also remember, you know, right now we have Survivor Series War Games in 3 weeks. Bianca Belair is probably going to be in that Survivor Series match. So she probably does not have to worry about facing anybody right now. And I got news for you. Everybody's talking about Damage Control and possibly Sasha Banks or someone else being all on a team at Survivor Series. I thought about it last night. I didn't talk about it last night, but I'll see how I feel watching Raw tomorrow. Do not discount the possibility of Bianca and Bayley being on the same team for Survivor Series. What if it's Raw versus SmackDown? No one thought about that. Remember, people like Damage Control versus Alexa Bliss and Asuka and this. What if it's Raw versus SmackDown? I mean, we don't know. We don't know. If it's Raw versus, I could see Bianca and Bayley being on the same team. So right now, Bianca Belair doesn't really have to worry about a singular opponent. But we got to wait and see if Charlotte Flair is going to return to Raw or return to SmackDown. So happy 1 year anniversary. Theme parks and things with SRH John 07 celebrating 12 months as a channel member. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. He wants to shout out everyone. Hopes everyone is having a great day. Tristan says his dream Survivor Series team would be Goldberg, Hogan, Austin, The Rock, and John Cena. Yeah, those are probably the biggest icons in the last 25 years. You know, I mean, Hogan obviously further. It's not bad. I don't know if I would put, Goldberg on there, but you can't go wrong with that. I mean, you take 5 of the greatest of all time or the greatest of this generation and the last generation. Yeah, I like it. And, somebody asked earlier about who's going to face the Bloodline. I'm going to think about that, and I'll tell you tomorrow. Because there's obvious picks, but nobody's thinking about Brock Lesnar. Nobody's thinking about Bobby Lashley. Brock and Bobby Lashley could end up being on the same team at Survivor Series. I don't know if they're going to face each other, at Survivor Series, or maybe they hold off till Mania. But we'll see. There's a lot of unanswered questions, but 24 hours from now, some of those questions will be answered. So things with Survivor Series 2022 probably will have a more defined direction after the November 7th Raw. Okay, Wombology. When they do call up Bron Breakker, do I think he gets a Goldberg-type push off the bat? They build him up slowly. I think they build him up slowly. I think the worst thing you could do to Bron Breakker is give him a Goldberg-type push. A Goldberg push, if Goldberg came around in 2022, he might still be able to pull off a streak because there's so much unknown about him. Because remember, when he came up, no one knew anything about him. It was like an enigma. So if he were the debut in 2022 and he could pull off that enigma vibe, I think it could work. But, the thing is, Bron Breakker is not an enigma. He's the son of a Hall of Famer and he's doing a spectacular job. But no, I think if you have him squashing everyone, I think it could rub some fans the wrong way. For anyone out there that doesn't watch NXT on a regular basis, it was not that long ago where Bron Breakker was not getting like the insane cheers from the crowd. There was some opponents, and the fans were into the opponents more than Bron Breakker. Bron Breakker, I don't know exactly when he hit his stride, but let me tell you something. Dolph Ziggler helped him a lot, more than people realize. That was not, let's just give Dolph Ziggler something. He helped Bron Breakker in a lot of ways. And I'm telling you, mark my words, when Bron Breakker does future interviews, especially if he's on a roll, I guarantee he will name drop Dolph Ziggler on more than one occasion, giving him props and support. So, all right, we're going to start bringing this home, only because it seems like now we're starting to get this pretty much the same group sending questions. So, you know, if we don't spread it around, it's time to call it. But we're having a good time. We're having a good time. We got another Survivor Series team over here. Larry the Comic. His team is Undertaker, Ultimo Dragon. That's an interesting pick, man. Kurt Angle, Eddie Guerrero, and Rob Van Dam. Something tells me these are some of your beloved all-time favorites of all time, and I'm not knocking that at all. That's an interesting team, man. If you ever did a Survivor Series team with some high flyers, I would love to see maybe like Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, Ultimo Dragon, and you could use like maybe two people of today. I'd love to see a 5-on-5 with just all high flyers. I think that would be fascinating. But the problem is like, how do you categorize that? You're not going to use the term high flyers. It would have to be some type of a feud. I can't wait to see Santos Escobar and Rey go at it. That's a match that I've been looking forward to. Problem is on SmackDown, I don't know how much time they get. I don't know how much time they get. But that is a match that I'm looking forward to. So, good question. Joe New. Am I paying for Twitter Blue? I had a feeling this was going to be asked. Okay. I'm going to be straight up. I'm always straight up, but I want to emphasize it now. I've been paying for Twitter Blue since November of last year. The reason why I pay for Twitter Blue, this is before Elon Musk bought it, is because I like the idea that if I misspell something, I can undo the tweet within a certain period of time and fix it. Me, I'm a stickler with grammar. And I have a habit of typing something too fast and I leave words out, and sometimes I make mistakes. And the last thing I want to do is keep a tweet out there, gets a lot of views or attention, and then I have to delete it because I made mistakes. I hate making mistakes when I type shit. So I've been a member of Twitter Blue for a year. But here's the thing. As far as being verified, because I think that's what you're leading to with this, I have not requested to be verified probably in about 5 years. And I'll tell you why. It's not just because I always talk on the shows about how blue check marks, they act like too prissy. And they're proving my point the last couple of days. For those that don't know, apparently Elon Musk, could happen even today, maybe even tonight, tomorrow. He's going to allow people to pay $8 a month as long as their identity can be verified, and they will have the blue check mark on their screen. And the funny thing is, this is not about everybody, but you could see in the entertainment world, the political world, social media influencers, I think, are the biggest culprit. Social media influencers are the biggest fucking culprit. They are livid that people who probably deserve that blue check mark more than them are now going to get it for $8 a month. There are people out there that pay $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 to get that blue check mark because it made them feel that they were in royalty. They made them feel bigger than everyone else. Now you're going to get millions of people that are going to pay $8 a month and get that blue check mark. And I'm watching today 30, 40, 50, 60, and 70-year-olds acting like children. Irate. Oh, Russians and hackers and trolls, they're all going to become blue check marks. And it's like, okay, so fuck the people who really deserve it because people are going to commit crime. You know, you're not entitled to this because someone else is going to try to steal it. The fuck are these people talking about? So, I do not do blue check mark because 5 years ago when I applied, back then you can actually write a little bit about yourself. I don't remember exactly what the procedure was, but I wrote to them and I put links and I put my, online resume, I guess you call it. And I showed them that I've been doing shows since 1997, that, I have this site and I've been doing this and I'm here and I have this deal and this deal. At the time it was with other places. And I, in my opinion, qualified to have it. And they came back to me and they said no. And again, I don't remember the exact reason, but it basically said that I don't have enough of an online footprint when it comes to this. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm watching people that do podcasts that get 100 people and they've only been doing it for 2-3 years and they have it. And I've been doing this at the time for 20 years. And, at one time I was #1 on Stitcher. I'm not talking wrestling. #1 across every podcast in the world. I'm not kidding. For 1 week or 10 days, I don't know why. I don't remember what that week was. It wasn't the Benoit tragedy, but it was mind-boggling. And I screenshot it. I kept it. I showed it to them. So after that, I was like, man, fuck you. Now, I don't know if I'm automatically going to get it now because I am a member of Twitter Blue, but I use Twitter Blue because of being able to fix the spellings. I like that I can edit. To me, and here's another thing. Everybody's talking about that they're paying $4.99 right now. I only pay $3. I think when they first brought it out, I think for like 1 or 2 days, they gave people a chance. You could sign up for $3. So I only get charged $3 for Twitter Blue. So I don't know if I'm going to automatically get it, but I will tell you this, I am not applying for it. So if I get it, I get it. But if I don't get it, I ain't applying for it. So, but I do find it funny, this group of prissy people that, it just goes to show you that some of these people, they got to feel that they're more important than other people. And God forbid, regular folk like you and me are in the same conversation at them. They'll use every excuse in the book to try to minimize that. It's just people out there have to feel bigger than everyone else. There is a lot of people like that. And it's awful. Charlie, go to Twitter and click on Twitter Blue and it'll explain to you all the features. I couldn't give you the list of all the features right now. You go on there and it definitely, give you the full explanation of what it is. Me, I only use it for the editing feature more than anything. Bradley Robinette, thank you for the 2-spot, my friend. Do I do live call-ins? I have not done that probably in a couple of months. Couple of reasons why. Number one, it gets a little complicated when you're running the whole helm over here and you don't have anybody in the background screening calls. Second thing is that, and this is not a knock on anybody who called in, but we were getting the same numbers every time. And I was not going to avoid numbers or, okay, not this week, I'm not answering this, but this, the same group of people kept calling in every week. And that's fun and everything. But for overall people out there, I was getting a lot of complaints like the same 5 people calling every week. And that's why I stopped doing calls 15 plus years ago. There was a few people that would call in every week that everybody loved. There's this guy, Cressman, that I know frequents the chat. He was calling in 15 years ago, and I have intros where he's on it. The guy is hilarious. Everybody loved him. But, not everybody always likes every single person that calls in. And, just when I kept getting a lot of complaints like, it's not that people are bad people or they didn't like the questions. It's just that, we tune in to hear a whole different array of things. And here's another thing, too. You don't want to be rude, but some people will stay on 15 to 20 minutes. And you don't want to cut somebody off halfway through. And then I remember 15 years ago, I don't remember the guy's name, but he called in. And I said, keep your questions short. This way we can get as many as in. And this guy went on a rant for 2 or 3 minutes. And, like I answered his rant and I asked him if he had anything else. He went on another rant for like 2 or 3 minutes. So after he was done, I disconnected the call and I said, yay, thank you for the call. And I went, but I hung up on him after he was done so I could answer what he said, follow up, and then move on. Phone rings right after that and I pick it up and he says, oh, you hung up on me. And I said, no, I didn't hang up on you. I said, you made your comment. And he's like, but I'm not done yet. And it turned into a mess. So, I thought about for a while doing voicemail. People want to leave a voicemail question and I could play it on the air. I'm going to bring calls back. Absolutely. But, unfortunately, the problem is that for the most part, we had the same group calling in every week. And for me, I love it. For me, it's fine. But for the overall experience, people want diversity, adversity. They want to hear all different things, not the same 5 people every week. Because then, they're not interested in tuning in. So I try to please everybody. That's why I think the live chat, I don't even have restrictions in the chat room right now anymore. I had it members only for a while, or subscribers only. I even removed that after doing it with JD. I said, I'm going to leave it off. So Dream 101, my thoughts on the upcoming election. I am not voting. I didn't vote in the last presidential election. I honestly don't. I know this sounds messed up, but I don't give a shit what happens in politics anymore. I really don't care. I just care about having fun, spending time with my family, my wife, doing these shows. They are a release. It's a fun thing to do. Keeping the bills paid, having fun, and that's it. Because I realize, you can get yourself to the point where you can't sleep at night because of what's going on in this political world, even with presidential shit. And I realize that, unfortunately, my individual voice does not matter. So I concern myself more with my surroundings. Treat people like you want to be treated. To me, leaving my immediate environment better than what it was before, to me, that's more important. So I'm not voting. I mean, I don't like Kathy Hochul at all. I don't like this movement in New York that people get arrested for some horrible crimes and they're guaranteed to be out on the street a couple of hours later. Imagine, look, I'll say this very quickly. When a lot of the riots went on with George Floyd, we had a lot of protests here in New York, but there was an incident, you could Google it too, there was an incident where a bunch of teenagers showed up at Queen Center Mall and they were going to loot the whole place, break windows and all this other stuff, and they found out because they were planning it on social media. If you go look it up, you will find that a majority of the teenagers that showed up to cause trouble were all white, rich people, or what's the better word? Middle, not like upper scale, not rich, but middle class. Yeah, middle class. And they were just there just to, use the tragedy as an excuse to just get free shit. And the thing is, like me, if I was a younger guy and I had some money problems, no job, and felt there was no hope, if I knew that, I could break into a upper echelon clothing store and, God forbid I get caught, me, the way I feel right now, you get caught committing crimes, your future could be over. For a lot of people out there, hey, I'll be back on the street in 3 hours. I'll just go and rob someone else. If you're out to do nefarious things and you know that the worst thing that can happen is you get arrested, you go to jail, but you'll be back on the street 6 hours later, how does that deter people from not committing these crimes? It's mind-boggling. I'll never forget de Blasio, our former mayor. De Blasio, when he was first in office, I remember this still to this day. I went to a dinner, and my brother's best friend is a sergeant for for the police, and he was telling us at this dinner that they had some type of a memo from Mayor de Blasio that said, when you go on the radio and you describe like someone you're looking for that might have committed a crime, you are not allowed to bring up their skin color. You were not allowed to bring up dreadlocks. You were not allowed to, like, you could only say male, medium weight, wearing blue jeans, white shirt. You actually could not say those things. Think I'm making it up, Google search it. And he said, they're making their job so difficult. They're not being racist. And they go on the radio and they say, Spanish, Hispanic, white, black, whatever it is. So, I stay away from politics. In fact, me talking this much right now is probably the most I've talked about politics in well over a year. So, Wombology, thank you for the 5-spot, my friend. Do I think Sean O'Hare's gimmick would have made it far in today's era, even if it was watered down? Yeah, absolutely. Especially with all of the money lost because of COVID, with all of the destruction and all of the friction in the world and the economy and gas being as expensive as it is, and going to a store and paying twice as much as what you paid even a year or two ago. I think Sean O'Hare's gimmick in 2022 would be fucking phenomenal. Sean O'Hare, listen, it's okay. You're hungry. That steak. Who would pay $30 for a steak? But you're hungry. You can have it. You've gone through so much. You suffered. You couldn't do the things you wanted to do. You did everything the right way. So, the apple, no one's going to die over it. No one's going to lose their business over it. Take it. It's okay. Oh, man. Could you imagine Sean O'Hare's gimmick with a 2022 twist on it? Oh, I think that would be phenomenal. That temptation. Remember when people thought they were going that route with Karrion Kross? A lot of people forgot already. Earlier this year, remember Karrion Kross? That they thought, hey, kind of feels a little bit Sean O'Hare-esque. I was not a big fan of Cuomo, Charlie. Not a big fan of him either. There's a lot of shadiness to him. You just felt. Have I talked to Brian Clark recently, Cass? No, I have not. I did not know you were on the same show as him. I actually retweeted earlier. He was on that appearance on that show that he's been filming. I have not talked to him probably in about 6 weeks. Brian Clark, a lot of you remember him as Adam Bomb. I always keep some of his memorabilia here. To Don Tony, much love. He's a good man. Brian Clark is a good man. I still feel guilty to this day. My bucket list is to see him in person and have a drink with him and talk. I've had some private conversations with him. He is such a good guy, man. And I feel fucking awful how we first started talking. When he was accused of committing a crime, I threw those mugshots on here and I just fucking put him down and criticized him without really looking into the stuff, and it ended up he had nothing to do with it. And I felt so fucking awful. And I apologized to him. He's like, brother, that's okay. He's like, I appreciate you, and ever since then, the guy is just fucking awesome, man. What an awesome man. I'm a little surprised that WWE or pro wrestling does not, bring him around, as much as he should. But then again, maybe he doesn't want that. I've never really, and actually he's another person. I definitely am going to ask Brian Clark to come on. I mean, if things didn't happen the way they did with Mish, that was in the works. Myself, Mish, and Brian Clark doing an episode together, but obviously that'll never see the light of day anymore, unfortunately. But no, I am going to have Brian Clark on. But I'm not going to have him on just to have him on. It's going to mean something, and it's going to be important. And, like I said, anybody I bring on, for 25 years, other than Conan and maybe a friend or two, Daphne and others, God rest their soul, I didn't bring people on, and that was a running thing, not to have guests. So anybody that comes on, it's going to be something special, or I don't do it at all. All right, we're going to wrap this up in about 7 minutes. We're already at an hour and 20. I told everyone we would go 90 minutes today, so we are at 80 minutes. So fun show, great topics. Keep it going. Love it every week. And, we'll do it again next week. Now, programming note, I know that I've mentioned this once before, but now we're getting closer, so keep a note. I will be going away Thanksgiving week for vacation. I'm going away probably for 4 or 5 days. Wednesday the 23rd through Sunday the 27th. Yeah. The 27th is Survivor Series. I will be back in time for Survivor Series. So, yes, I will be watching Survivor Series. Yes, I will do a recap that night. But I will be gone from Wednesday until Sunday afternoon, which means there'll be no Wednesday Night Dynamite that week, and there'll be no Don Tony show that week. So you might want to mark that down. So wait a minute. No. Survivor Series is on Sunday. I hope Charlie is not throwing me a curveball here. Hold on. Survivor Series 2022. Oh, shit, it is Saturday. All right, so you know what? No, that means Sunday night we'll do a recap. Yeah. So I won't do it live Saturday night. Every podcaster, and thank you, Charlie, for that. Wow. So, yeah, Sunday night is when we'll do Survivor Series. We'll do like a Don Tony show, and we'll do Survivor Series recap. So I won't be live Saturday night the 26th, which is okay because everybody and their mother does Survivor Series. So, but, wow, so that means Saturday night I will have to watch it from a hotel room. Okay. All right. Tristan, he noticed since Vince McMahon retired, WWE has not mentioned Vince on TV, yet he doesn't understand why it's like they don't care about him. No, they don't mention him on TVs because they want fans to get used to life without Vince McMahon. They do not avoid Vince on interviews. They do not avoid Vince when it comes to business. They will mention him. They will keep in mind they always mention with the business stuff in the same sentence that he is the majority investor, stockholder. So he does have influence. It's only common sense, but they won't come out there and specifically say that. Vince still talks to some of the wrestlers. He still texts messages. He still talks on the phone. But as far as meetings, as far as creative decisions in the office, he's not there. They just want fans to get used to life without Vince there. And I appreciate everybody's feedback yesterday who said to me, yeah, DT, Crown Jewel, if Vince was at the helm, it probably would have been no different. Yesterday's Crown Jewel felt like Vince was at the helm. And nothing was different yesterday with Triple H at the helm. If anything, some people felt that it was more of a Vince-type produced event than even Triple H. So, all right. Sean Swaby says, BC Amplified strongly believes that Vince is still running the company behind closed doors. Well, BC Amplified has a right to their opinion, but keep in mind that this is a publicly traded company worth billions of dollars. And if Vince McMahon was privately doing things and the investors are not aware of it, that could be almost criminal. I know a lot of people wanted the women's stuff to be criminal. They didn't get what they wanted. But no, I mean, look, Vince, of course, wrestlers will call Vince or text Vince. Vince, what do you think of this idea? I told you, give it time. Give it time. We're the only ones that said this. Give it time. You'll see people starting to say it. Vince McMahon will be looked at in the future as long as he's still around for many years. I mean, God, we always think like the minute he eases back and doesn't work, he might pass. How many of you out there know someone who's in their 70s who refuse to let up? Hey, take a break, relax. You're in your 70s, retire, have a good time. A lot of people feel that the minute they retire, my dad's like that. The minute he steps back and just stops working hard, he thinks that his body will just break down and die. There's a lot of people that feel that way. But I'm telling you, if Vince is still around for many years to come, people will start comparing Vince's latter years to Pat Patterson in the way that wrestlers are seeking out Vince for opinion. What do you think of this? You know, I was thinking about this idea. What do you think about that? There are wrestlers that are doing that right now. There are wrestlers that are doing that. There's nothing wrong with that. And the business, financial world, the investors do not need to know that either. The wrestlers are performers. They're asking someone for their opinion. So Vince still has input with that. But as far as the everyday decision-making, Vince is not part of that. So, man, I hope Vince lives to be 100. Seriously. He's done some horrible things. I wouldn't want him as my dad. And I wouldn't want him as, you know, my brother or my husband or anything. I wouldn't want that. But he's given me too much entertainment. He's the reason why I'm here in an indirect way. You know, so I will always appreciate Vince McMahon. Always. All right. We have about 2 minutes left. So I want to definitely get done. Yeah, Michael Gonzalez. Guys, you want to see how time flies? Let me throw this fact to you. This month is the 20th anniversary of Elimination Chamber. Let that sink in a little bit. Now, look, if you start thinking about it, it's common sense. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Bischoff. On TV, it was Bischoff's idea. Wasn't it originally Jericho's? I don't remember if it was Jericho's, but Bischoff on TV. So Bischoff was the GM in 2002. So, yeah, but even though we kind of knew that, it just goes to show you how fast time flies. I mean, it's kind of mind-boggling when you really think about it. And, you know, somebody asked the other day, JD and I talked about it, what is wrestling going to look like 10 years from now? And we gave our opinions of what we think it's going to look like, but we also pointed out 10 years is going to get here a lot faster than people realize, and it's going to blow some people away. That's why, even though some wrestlers right now, you might not like some of their antics in the wrestling world, but you got to appreciate them, because 10 years from now, a lot of the wrestlers you see on TV are probably not going to be in the ring anymore. More than you realize. I mean, look at Rey Mysterio. Now, I'm not saying Rey Mysterio does any antics, but look at Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio is what, 47? You know, you think he's going to be wrestling in his late 50s? You start really thinking about who's not going to be wrestling 10 years from now. It's a little sobering. It's a little sad when you think about it. So, 20 years. All right, everyone. I'm going to jet out of here. I thank you very much, as always, for tuning in. Always post your feedback in the comment section. You know, that is something, especially after Thursday, that I really want to stay on top of. I must have responded to about 400 comments in the last 3 days. You know, I get a little downtime. I'm hanging out by the computer, just typing away. So, you know, and even if sometimes I may not be able to answer every single one, believe me, I'm looking at everybody's. I always welcome your feedback. Now, a couple of quick plugs. Once again, if you haven't checked it out already, please do. You will not regret it. Myself, JD, podcast Forbidden Door 3 went down this past Thursday, November 3rd. Also, the Crown Jewel post-show review that I did yesterday, had a blast doing that. We did not know that Logan Paul blew out his knee yesterday. I'm wondering if it had to do with the buckshot lariat that he hit. By the way, did you see on my Twitter today? I put it up. You know, for those that didn't tune into the Crown Jewel recap yesterday, I had posted on Twitter yesterday that Chris Kanyon did the buckshot lariat back in his WCW days. So when everybody is saying that, you know, Logan Paul's copying off of Hangman Page didn't originate that move. Hell, I don't even think Chris Kanyon originated that move. You know, back in the day, we were always under the impression that Easy Money did that. I don't know exactly. And actually, I don't care. But, you know, I took it down yesterday because I didn't want it to look snide. Like, all right, everybody is getting pissed at Logan Paul saying he's copying Hangman Page. Well, guess what? Someone else did it back in the day. But today I decided, I'm like, you know what? I am going to post it because I appreciated Chris Kanyon. And I knew him just a little bit in our high school days. I wanted to show a little love for Chris Kanyon, so I put it up today. And it was really, really beautiful to see the response it's gotten. A lot of people are taking notice that Chris Kanyon, innovator of violence, or innovator of offense. I think the innovator of violence was Tommy Dreamer. I think Chris Kanyon was the innovator of offense. So, all right. And one last plug, if you don't mind. Tomorrow, we will talk about Sasha Banks. Now, JD said, excuse me, that he thinks she's returning at Survivor Series in Boston. Well, she actually said the last day or two, something so fucking crazy is coming. And it's happening in the month of November. We're already we're already a quarter through November. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about the real possibility of her showing up Survivor Series, but also a little sausage that Sasha Banks could also show up somewhere else, and it's not AEW. So tomorrow we'll talk about that, and we will get into a little sausage. I promise you. That sausage, just like everything else that we posted in August and September, everything has happened with the exception of Sasha and Naomi returning, which they are. But we're going to add a little sausage tomorrow about where Sasha Banks could be ending up in the wrestling world if it doesn't happen for WWE right away. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. So if you enjoyed tonight's episode, smash that thumbs up. If you know anyone that would like the channel, let them know about it. It is free to subscribe. If you want to become a channel member and get a couple of extra perks, you can do that as well. Patreon.com/Don Tony. Every week you get a extra Patreon show hosted by yours truly. Kevin Castle is there. He does a Patreon show there every week as well. Plus, everything that we do here, you get ad-free versions there. And once a month, we do pay-per-view/premium live event predictions contest. So I already have the winner from yesterday's, so we will announce that this week. And I'm out of here. Much love, everyone. Have a great rest of your weekend. I know for some of you it might be now early Monday, so I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. And I thank you, as always, for the support. This week was, every week is fun. This week was a little extra and had a blast. And I'm halfway through my Diet 7-Up. Pick it up, I'm telling you. You know what I ordered too that I haven't gotten yet, but I was always obsessed with drinking it when I was a kid. And obviously I did not realize how much sugar I was taking in. Sugar-free Tang. Anybody ever like Tang? When I was a kid, I used to drink gallons of regular Tang, the one with all the sugar in it. They apparently have sugar-free Tang. So I ordered a bunch of boxes. They're being delivered to. Actually, I ordered the powder and the liquid. So, it's not the best for you because they have maltodextrin in them, but I'm getting myself some sugar-free Tang. And we're going to try that shit out also. But this is a winner. Sugar-free 7-Up powder, that's a winner, man. And it tastes good for water, not even sparkling water. So Sunny Delight, never was into Sunny Delight. But I know some people that were. That's the bottle with the really thin neck. I always call it the Elix Skipper neck. You ever see a bottle of Sunny D? It looks like an orange version of Elix Skipper without the hair. Go look at a bottle of Sunny D. Look at the neck. And then look at Elix Skipper's neck, and you'll know why I say that. So who would ever think that we would compare a bottle of Sunny Delight to Elix Skipper in 2022? Unbelievable.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills, I paid the host, I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's alright, he's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.